What was your first job? Asking around this building, I was struck by how many people delivered newspapers.
13 years old, I became a Long Island Press delivery boy.
A newspaper girl.
I was delivering papers when I was 11 or 12.
And lots of people said their first job was restaurant work.
My job was to clean up the parking lot of the Dairy Queen.
I was washing dishes Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
I was 8 years old and I worked at my father's bakery. I washed the pots and pans. I scraped the floors. I don't even
Child labor
I don't even
violation.
think I got paid.
America makes it illegal to work when you're young, but there's an exception if you work for your family.
My job is working in my family's restaurant at a very young age. They started me at 8 years old, cleaning the tables, and then I was promoted to hostess and then promoted to waitress. And my dad used to make me work shift after shift when waitresses would call off. And I would work all these shifts in a row, and I'd get so angry at him because he'd send all the other waitresses home.
Some people talk about how hard they had to persist just to get a first job.
Going around town asking the business owners if they would pay me to sweep their sidewalks and their parking lots.
Some persisted even when the money wasn't good.
My first job was mowing lawns at the University of Denver for the princely sum of $1.15 an hour.
And when the work was boring.
Okay, my first job was in the back room of a dairy in Appleton, Wisconsin, and I had the job of getting all the coins from the cash register and putting all the pennies in those paper rolls. Then I put all the nickels in those paper rolls and the dimes and the quarters in paper rolls. So I spent about 8 hours a day stuffing those paper rolls, and then they would go off to the bank.
Many worked long hours.
Working school nights till 2 a.m. And my mom would pick me up at 2 o'clock in the morning. She was raising 5 kids, not just me. And the third night this happened, she said, "Billy, you need to find another job."
Shannon Breen helped her mother renovate houses.
I had a little scraper tool, and I had to go around to every pane of glass after they were painted and scrape off any glue, any paint that was left on there.
Charles Payne worked at a little shop in Harlem.
It was a tough gig. You did the snoring, you did the register, but also I was in a location where I had to also be a security guard as well. And that was a pretty tough one, that's all I can tell you.
Today, some laugh about the hard work.
I was a garbage man, and it was one of those guys who rode on the back of the truck. You jumped off, and all the pails were there, and you threw them in. And they didn't have, like, plastic ones back then. They had those big, heavy metal things. And you throw them in, and sometimes you pick this thing up and you go, whoa!
And the hard work taught valuable lessons.
Did it change my life? It most certainly did. I decided I never wanted to ever be a professional person who puts those money in those paper things. It was dreadfully dull, and I decided I have to have a job that's fascinating. And of course, I always wanted to be a lawyer because I knew I'd always be in trouble, and I'd never be able to afford a lawyer, so I'd better be a lawyer. So I ultimately became a lawyer.
Only a few of my colleagues found early jobs in the field we're in now.
They were giving away airtime as a contest, be a DJ for an hour. And so I was, and I was...
Well, what did you do to win the contest?
12. Oh, you entered a playlist. You said, what songs would you play? And I really thought, okay, now what does the station sound like?
Can't believe that they gave me a key to a radio station and let me open it up, sign it on the air, and, do everything from news and disc jockey and sports. And it was a terrific job.
And I found only one other person who really liked his first job.
First job I had was between ages 16 and 20 when I worked in the summers as a sailing instructor in a day camp. And what it taught me was that there are people in the world who, when you're doing a job that you would do for nothing, will actually pay you, and when they're offering it, don't object.
Most first jobs were not much fun.
They didn't have a dishwashing machine. I used to have to wash pots and pans and scrub and all the plates, and it was a busy restaurant.
I can tell you what my worst job was. It was washing dishes in an industrial kitchen at a hospital. The dishwasher was so big you walked into the dishwasher, and I've never been so wet, so humid, so hot any time in my life.
But most everyone said they're grateful for the lessons they learned.
It taught me that if you work hard, you can you can earn things and accumulate things and do with it what you will.
Taught you the value of work.
And also the dignity of work. There's something about, getting it yourself.
It taught me that you had to keep showing up for work.
It taught me to be punctual, because if people don't get their newspaper, they're very angry.
What it taught me was that
I could do better than minimum wage. And I went out the next summer, bought my own lawnmower, and I would charge people $8 to mow their lawns, and I would do it in about an hour, and I had a much more lucrative business working for myself.
I learned that if I wanted to buy anything for myself, I needed money and I needed to make my own money. So it was a lesson I learned very early on, that I wasn't entitled to anything. So it was, in all regards, it was really the beginning of a life that, as a capitalist.
I learned it was kind of a hoot, even that early in the morning, to make a little money.
Stuart Varney's first job was working in one of these double-decker buses in London.
Taught me a lot. How do you deal with drunks? I learned how to do that. How do you learn to deal with the general public? Well, you get a lot of that as a London Transport bus conductor. It also taught you punctuality. You may not be late when appearing for your shift. It was one of the toughest jobs I ever had, but I'm glad I did it.
Reason TV's Nick Gillespie learned a lesson he wasn't supposed to learn.
I worked as a page in my hometown library in Middletown, New Jersey. I was supposed to put books away, as they were returned. I took a cart of books and I restocked them in about 20 minutes, and I came back and I said, okay, where's the next rack? And the people who worked there, this was a municipal library, they were like, what, you're done? And I was like, yeah, this is great work. Let me do some more. And they were like, no, you were supposed to take 2 hours to put those away. Now just go away and come back at the end of your shift. And what I learned from that was I don't want to work in the public sector.
Whatever the job, most everyone said they learned just by working.
Gave me the work ethic that I have now. It taught me what hard work is. And then I worked every other job in the restaurant business. Then I moved on to the construction business. And somehow I thought, let me try this radio and TV thing. And I've been very blessed.
Even if the job would be illegal today.
I was 13 years old, and I went to work at Tyson's drugstore. And you're not supposed to drive at 13. You may have heard about that. But at the time, at 14 and a half in Mississippi, you could get your driver's license. I don't know. They gave me my start. And then Hardee's after that. But that's another story. Stossel, back to you.